Now on KGW News, a mother shot and killed right in front of her children.
Because we need to get this person. I need this.
Tonight, a grieving husband hopes a new reward will finally lead to answers. Also tonight, when it comes to crossing the Columbia, how much is too much?
So I'm asking you as a father, as a teacher, and as a business owner to shrink this project.
How state funding for a new I-5 bridge seems to be tied in Oregon to a more controversial project. And later, taking the temperature 1 year on.
Learning how to be good neighbors has been, it's been a challenge.
Residents reflect on how the city's first Safe Rest Village changed their neighborhood. Good evening, and let's get right to a live look tonight over the Rose City, where we are still sitting pretty in the 60s after a day of sunshine that, yes, reached that 80-degree mark, and there is more where that came from. Let's get right to Chief Meteorologist Matt Safino. Matt, I have to say, it is feeling great. How warm are we going to get tomorrow?
Yeah, we'll be warmer tomorrow than we were today. So this little warm wave about 3 days in a row in the 80s. And today was day one in the 80s. We're still at 63 right now. Keep in mind that 63 is warmer than any day was up until about 2 days ago when we finally broke into the 60s here in April. So again, this is really great to get this warm weather, dry weather that a lot of people have been craving and waiting for. Winds are interesting right now. Still out of the west at the airport, but we're starting to see a northerly wind, even an easterly wind in Troutdale. And that east wind is going to continue to develop overnight, spread out to the Oregon coast, and that's going to aid the warming for tomorrow, which is why we're talking about temperatures not around 80 like we were today. We topped out at 81, but in the upper 80s tomorrow, 88, maybe 89, possibly even 90. Now, our average first 80-degree day is the 8th of May, so we did it early, which is great because our first 70-degree day was yesterday, and that was over 3 weeks late. As far as the 90s go, we got a chance of reaching it tomorrow. The earliest 90-degree day we've ever had in Portland was actually April 30th. That's also the all-time record for the month of April here in town. So if we do make 90 tomorrow, earliest ever and a record for the month of April. We'll see if we get there or not. Upper 80s, though, look very, very likely. The coast will even punch into the 70s and low 80s, and strong east winds developing early tomorrow morning. More on this in a little bit, David, and of course, when this warm streak will end, and that's not too far off either. Back to you.
Flirting with 90. Thank you, Matt. Well, new tonight, a plea for justice from a father of two whose wife was shot to death in front of him and their children. The FBI now offering $25,000 for information leading to an arrest and conviction. Let's bring in Alma McCarty. Alma, it's been 14 months now since Adao Duop's murder. You talked to her husband. What did he tell you?
Well, yes, David, and we just wanted to say that we are concealing his identity tonight. Not only did he lose his wife in this shooting, both he and his young kids were also shot that night. In February 2022, the family fears for their safety since there haven't been any arrests yet. He tells me he misses her so much and wants answers and justice.
Adao Duop was 25 years old, a mother of two, a refugee from Sudan, building a life in Portland.
My wife, she's an amazing person. She's smart and intelligent. She's always good with people.
But all that was stolen from her husband and her family when on February 20th, 2022, she was shot and killed around Southeast 128th Avenue and Foster.
Every time I step outside, there's memories all the time, you know?
Memories of that night, of a car following them closely. All four were heading home from the grocery store.
I'm driving as fast as I can to get my wife and my kids' safety. I hit another right, going straight, another right. Next thing you know, that's when I got to Foster. When I got to Foster, then that's when everything just ended right there.
Almost a block from their house, and another car pulls up next to them and just starts firing on them. Tragically, Adao's killed. Her 1-year-old then is shot in the leg. Her 5-year-old is shot in the arm. Her husband is shot in the throat. Just one of these unbelievably horrific crimes.
FBI Special Agent in charge for the state of Oregon, Kieran Ramsey, says in the years since the murder, investigators have gathered a lot of information, but they're looking for more. a missing piece.
To hopefully find that little piece of information that we don't have currently, to finally fully identify those responsible and bring them to justice.
To do it, the FBI is offering $25,000 for information leading to the arrest and conviction of those responsible for the murder.
We know that this family was not targeted because of anything they were doing, that they were simply in the wrong place at the wrong time.
More than a year since that terrible night, Adao's husband prays information and an arrest might relieve some of the lasting pain.
We need to get this person. I need this to see this with my own eyes. We need to stand for justice for my wife.
We have more specifics about the crime scene and what investigators know so far up on KGW.com. Anyone who might know something about the murder is encouraged to contact the FBI. Ramsey says they always worked to protect those who provide this critical information. David?
Wrong place, wrong time. Here's to hoping they get the answers they finally deserve. Thank you, Alma. Let's get you caught up on tonight's other headlines now. In Clackamas County, the DA has released the name of a homicide suspect shot by police Monday night after a chase. Authorities say 2 Portland police officers and a Clackamas County sheriff's deputy were involved in the shooting that killed 20-year-old Jack Watson. Watson was suspected, they say, of killing Zachary Freeman, seen in this photo, inside a Southeast Portland business on Sunday morning. The DA says during the chase, Watson pulled out a gun and shot at police. Both officers and the deputy, identified as David Sloboda, have been placed on administrative leave. In the Gorge, authorities say they have found a woman's body, and they now consider her death suspicious. The Multnomah County Sheriff's Office says they discovered the body of Charity Perry of Longview on Monday along the Columbia River Highway in Ainsworth State Park. She'd been last seen in downtown Portland in early March. If you have any information on her death, you're asked to call the Sheriff's Office. And Portland police continue to tout their operations to recover more stolen vehicles and catch suspected car thieves. In a sting last Friday with the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office, they recovered 13 stolen cars and made 19 arrests. The latest effort came in the Fairview and Troutdale areas. PBB says using data science has helped them find 1 stolen vehicle for every 4 stops, rather than 1 for every 30. New at 11, it is a big project, decades in the making, and one that seems to be getting more complicated by the day. Tonight, lawmakers heard from local leaders, transportation officials, and the public on the latest plan to pay for a new interstate bridge, and one that, for some reason, lumps the bridge in with another I-5 project full of controversy. Catherine Cook explains.
First, the I-5 bridge replacement will increase safety.
For 2.5 hours, people weighed in on House Bill 2098. The bill breaks down how Oregon could pay for a new interstate bridge. The state would commit $1 billion from its general fund, same as Washington, plus whatever toll costs may cover. Supporters praised its focus on leveraging federal funding to pay for the new span.
We need this project. We need this bridge. It needs to be replaced now. We have a window for federal money that is not going to come back again.
Many emphasize the critical need to replace the bridge, knowing it would fail if and when the big one hits, and the importance of improving transportation commerce.
With severe congestion during peak travel hours, the bridge is no longer serving those travelers efficiently or safely. Further, the 106-year-old bridge is at risk of catastrophic failure in the event of an earthquake.
Amendments in the bill call for capping bridge spending at $6.3 billion. Critics say a limit that high feels like handing ODOT a blank check.
We need a bridge that is climate forward. And we need it to leave money for vital transportation improvements throughout the state.
Another amendment suggests making the bridge smaller and capping spending at $3.4 billion. Many community members supported that option.
So I'm asking you as a father, as a teacher, and as a business owner to shrink this project. Please tell ODOT to live within their means and pay for this project using some of the billions of dollars they manage every biennium.
Another big sticking point with the latest edition of the bill, it lumps in the Rose Quarter expansion with the I-5 bridge replacement. A line of the bill says the legislature will fully fund the Rose Quarter project in the next 2 legislative sessions. Many have long opposed widening that part of the interstate for environmental reasons. They want an I-5 option that doesn't do that.
An approach that connects our communities without endangering the general fund or the climate.
Lawmakers emphasized that tonight was just a listening session. And right now there are no other meetings scheduled for this bill. There are a lot of components to the I-5 replacement project. On KGW.com, you'll find a breakdown of potential designs that are on the table and why construction is so complicated. David?
Yeah, complicated, the key word there. Thank you, Catherine. Meanwhile, planners seem to be resigned that tolls are going to be part of the new I-5 bridge there, though a group of lawmakers is trying to push pause on a plan to bring them to I-205. So a new bill this week with bipartisan sponsors would hold off on any tolling on 205 for 2 years, while previous bills tried to block I-205 tolling altogether. This one's just asking for a delay while a task force studies the impact. Well, April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and tonight people came together to provide resources to those in need. Organizations were at Oregon City's Liberty Plaza to reach out to survivors. We heard from one who had a message for others.
I would just say to any victims of sexual assault, especially if it was something that happened a long time ago and you feel like your time has passed, to experience healing and empowerment, it is never too late. And I encourage you to find these resources. I encourage you to tell your story.
Now we thank her for sharing hers. The crowd tonight also heard from speakers and spent time with some therapy dogs.